I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. How can we be prepared for that which we do not know? But I do know we are ready to encounter it.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. That's why we're out here.
Your Honor, Starfleet was founded to seek out new life. Well, there it sits. This is about saving the future of humanity.
Things are only impossible until they're not.
Yes, sir. The first duty of every Starfleet officer is to the truth, whether it's scientific truth, or historical truth, or personal truth. It is the guiding principle on which Starfleet is based. Come.
I am Locutus of Borg.
Tea Earl Grey, hot.
Make it so.
Captain, I have complete confidence in your ability to represent my interests.
Oh, Data. You never know what's over the horizon.
To new worlds, sir.
To new worlds.
Engage.
Hello and welcome to Picard Parsec, a podcast about the CBS All Access series Picard. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I'm Ryan DeVere.
And I'm Joel Houghton, coming to you from quarantine.
Yes, it is a special Red Alert edition of Picard Parsec, where we're all quarantined. And this week we'll be covering Season 1, Episode 9, Et in Arcadia Ego, Part 1. So,
Part 1.
Yeah, so hopefully there's a Part 2 next week.
I was going to say, I really hope they follow up with a Part 2. Otherwise, I'm going to be really annoyed with this whole thing.
Yeah, why is there a Part 1 and a Part 2 in a serialized series anyway?
That's weird. I don't know.
It's a long-honored Star Trek tradition, I think. I think that's what we're going with.
Yeah,
you have to have a Part 1 and Part 2.
But like traditionally for season finales, it would be like the best of both worlds Part 1 at the end of Season 3 going into Season 4 with Part 2 to open it. They did that a lot, like Time's Arrow and the one with Worf. Yeah.
Maybe Et in Arcadia, Et in Arcadia Ego, right, is the pronunciation?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a 3-part. So we get Part 1, Part 2, and then next season is Part 3.
You don't even see it coming.
Isn't this really Part 9? Isn't this like Star Trek Picard?
Right.
Part 9, and then the finale will be Part 10.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Like, that doesn't make sense. But here we are, Part 1.
Yeah, and what a Part 1 it was. What did you guys think of it?
Pretty good visuals. I was pretty impressed with the space battles that we get. I was really enjoying. Kind of early on, we get the Borg cube coming through. It looked good. All of it looked good.
Yeah, I liked a lot of those visuals as well. Joel, I think you talked about this series looking very cinematic early on, and I think it was really showing that with the Borg cube and everything there at the beginning with La Serena.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'll say. You can complain about the editing and the writing and some of the storylines, but the cinematography and the production quality throughout the whole thing saved the score, because ever since Ryan pointed that out, like the 3rd or 4th episode, that the music was just like non-existent or you didn't notice it, I've noticed it not noticing it. It's just not there. But yeah, the production quality has been good, and this episode was more of the same.
Yeah, they definitely poured money into it visually.
Yeah.
And I think it felt very Star Trek-ish to me. The planet that they go to and all of the synthetics that they see and they're interacting with, the costumes and just the look of them felt very like, oh, this is out of the 60s or from some early on episodes of Next Generation.
That's what I thought familiar. When the flowers came up at them. Just from the small amount of the original series that I've seen and some of the stuff in Next Gen that I've seen here or there, like this is the most Star Trek thing that has happened this whole series. Like random flowers eating spaceships.
Designed to just drag ships down to the surface.
Very weird. Very Star Trek.
And we've had like this ongoing. Daj and Soji are both named for flowers. Like they're both named as part of flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Chris Rios's ship encountered the other synthetics, and like their name, one of the names was Beautiful Flower.
Yeah, literally.
Beautiful flower.
And it was a male.
And he was but that felt very Star Trek to me, that we have like a whole basically planet or society that's based around one basic theme, and it's flowers in this case.
Flowers.
It also is neat, like a lot of Star Trek is based around, all right, we arrived at a planet, now we're having some sort of space conflict, now we have to go down to the planet for some reason, and like you get like multiple settings in an episode, in a story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at here. We get multiple settings. We're doing like, and this is the stuff that I felt like we've kind of missed a lot throughout this series, of different parts of the crew, different places we're moving along, with the exception of, I guess, while they were visiting the Borg cube, because La Serena was sitting outside, and we got kind of that conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and then Picard took off.
Yeah.
That was all of that. That was all of that thought.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Cool. Yeah, so to kick things off in the episode, La Serena is traveling through the Borg network, and to the awe of everyone except Jurati. It arrives at the fourth planet of the Gulian system, and the crew is suddenly attacked by Narek. While under attack, the artifact appears, and it is then attacked by giant flowers that are sent from the planet, while one of them wraps around La Serena. And then while in the middle of a crash landing, Picard loses consciousness and begins speaking nonsense. So it's the first episode that doesn't begin with a flashback.
It's the first episode that doesn't begin with a flashback. And his parietal lobe acting up sort of came out of nowhere.
I told you guys. I told you that's what was going to happen here.
They've mentioned it one other time, I think, since he was diagnosed or whatever in the first or second episode. And then he just passes out randomly. Is this stress induced?
Yeah, I guess that's what they're going with.
Flower induced.
Pollen induced? Does he have a pollen allergy?
That could be it. Triggers it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then, does he wake up immediately?
No, it's after their planet side.
So they cut. Okay.
Yeah, because that's the episode, or the stinger at the beginning ends with everybody crowding around him.
Oh,
which I don't understand why. Yeah,
Rios
Rios left
while you're crash landing.
Exactly.
Just stands up. Hey, this old man dying is more important than us
all done.
Landing. Yeah.
What was he going to do, though?
Well, he's got all the holograms that can take over for him, so.
That's true.
Though I guess he should just say, like, hey, medical hologram, take care of that guy while I steer the ship.
Do you?
Yeah.
There were no holograms.
No.
They had multiple emergencies occurring simultaneously, and the holograms... Or did Jurati disable all of them? Is he like, in case I want to murder anybody else, let's just delete them all.
She could have.
I guess so.
They should have had a hologram appear.
Yeah, there was a lot of surprises that happened at the beginning of this episode. La Serena gets to the planet. Haha, now there's Narek. Haha, now there's a Borg cube. Haha, now flowers are coming from the planet. It was just layers on layers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you like the Narek maneuver? It's very
him using the cloaking device to
give a projection of himself somewhere else.
Yeah. Picard should have been the one to pick that out, though, then.
Yeah, so for context, Joel, there is a maneuver in Starfleet called the Picard maneuver, which, if I remember right, is basically you take your ship into full warp, and for an instant, you look like you pop up two different places. And so they used it like once or twice throughout the Next Generation. It's not a big thing, but it's notable that it's named after him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what Luke Skywalker did in The Last Jedi? Was the Picard maneuver?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, jumped right into warp.
You're not doing this. The effort would kill you.
There you go. Now, so this was, I mean, I don't know that it was an homage to that. And we've never seen Romulans do anything like this before with their cloaking. It felt a little bit odd to me that they couldn't, like that the ship sensors wasn't saying, yeah, they're just not over there. I don't know. It was clever enough, I guess.
Are we buying the explanation for how he tracked them? Because in the last episode, they explained this seemingly very complex, complicated system of wormholes and portals, and I don't remember all the Star Trek terms that they used.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, "Oh, well, he must have extrapolated our location or extrapolated our course based on our last known position."
Yeah, I just kind of let it go.
I did too, but then they do it again with the Borg cube. Like the Borg cube pops up, and you're like, "What? How did, they were miles away. How would they possibly know?" And they just know.
Well, they could have tracked Narek.
Oh,
because the ship came from there.
Yeah, I think they just wanted everybody to get to the same place. Yeah, because like you said, though, like the explanation is that he guessed basically that
tracked them through hyperspace. Like he talked to Hux and got the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I don't know. Yeah, that was something I was just not gonna bother with. They just need Narek to be there on the planet and they don't know how to get in there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have to spend time on it.
One thing I really liked in the beginning was the red alert sounds that we've not heard until now in this series, and it's a very Star Trek sound when the red alert goes up.
Yeah.
I don't think I noticed it.
Oh.
I'll have to go back.
Did their job. Sometimes when you don't notice something.
I mean, but if Star Trek isn't your thing, then of course it's not going to mean anything to you.
Mm-hmm. So then,
Yeah.
Picard, blacks out, and then we go to credits, and then Picard is experiencing flashbacks to earlier in the series, and he wakes up to find Jurati standing over him. She explains that the ship has no power and that she ran a scan on him with an old tricorder, which she believes to be faulty. And Picard tells her that he thinks the tricorder is just fine.
So we are going to allow this person who was overseeing the last medical emergency on our ship and admitted to murdering him, and then was like, "Oops, sorry guys, won't do that again." And then we're just gonna be like, "Oh, it's cool. We'll trust her."
Just unsupervised.
We're just gonna take her word for it, or were they like, "Well, who really cares? Honestly, he doesn't do anything."
Jurati has had her redemption already. She's part of the crew. She's really a misunderstood.
That's what the last episode was all about.
Right. Where were you last episode? We forgave her.
You don't believe?
And I brought up the point. How many murders do you get forgiven of? I think it's less than one. You don't get responsibilities after you've murdered someone.
Yeah.
Or at least unsupervised, just completely alone.
Yeah,
that's
true.
I was a little thrown off by that too. And then Picard's pretty forthcoming about his condition.
Yeah, then he holds a special meeting and he finally tells everybody about it. And then in order to get ahead of the Romulans to find Soji's people, he suggests they all take a walk. And then they all go outside and see the smoking wreckage of the artifact. And then Picard wants them to find it in the event that Elnor and Hugh survived.
Yeah. Do you think that, based on the way this Star Trek is portraying Picard, do you think that this is Picard's hubris again? He's like, we're trash landed on a planet. I can finally tell them that I'm dying and that they've been on this suicide run the whole time.
Well, that's what I thought. He was like, "We're not going to discuss it, and anybody that brings it up risks pissing me off." A, who cares? You're going to piss off an old man. And B, like, the nature of their mission and the situations that they're going into, they should absolutely have a right to know that he could die at any point.
Not only that he's proven himself
crazy.
very egocentric in this series, at least.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do anything like they didn't cover at all that, like, hey, maybe Raffi should be really pissed off that he withheld such important information. But no, they just kind of rolled with it and moved on. But it's like, oh, this explains why you've been balls to the wall the whole series so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One quick note. I am very impressed with Alison Pill's ability to quiver just the dimple in her chin. Like, when she first realized that Picard was dying, her face didn't change at all for a second, and just her chin, like the very tip of her chin, quivered. I tried it. I cannot do it. It's amazing how she's able to just... It's very impressed.
Oh, that's
Years
a
of
talent.
training them.
Yeah, it was very good.
So, then they trek across the planet's surface and find the crashed artifact, and they enter it and find the XB survivors along with Elnor and 7 of 9, and then they use the long-range scanners to discover 218 Romulan warbirds are heading their way. And La Serena's crew says goodbye and heads off to find Soji's people, while 7, Elnor, and the XBs stay for reasons.
So this seems like as good a time as any to bring up. Remember way back at I think it's episode 2, when Soji is part of some sort of orientation with all these other, like, humans and other scientists and things.
Mm-hmm.
Gone.
There's that one lady that's like she befriended.
She's dead.
Where are these people? They're just gone?
They're all dead.
Yeah, Rizzo killed them all.
But we never saw Rizzo kill anybody in, like, the orange suits that they were in. Is that the explanation? I thought that she was just killing XBs.
She was just killing XBs, but no, I don't think they exist anymore.
They weren't necessary anymore.
We just needed that scene of her, I don't know, being a normal human, I guess, with other people.
Yeah.
But no, they're all gone. All those doctors and scientists and...
But really, though, I mean, the only characters that we've seen on the Borg Cube from that point have all either been Romulans or XBs or both.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It just struck me of, like, they just didn't need them at all, did they?
I thought we were going to get a lot more about what she was doing. Like, I thought her actual job on the Borg Cube would matter. In fact, later, skipping ahead, but it's relevant. One of the synths in the city is like, "Did you complete your mission?" And she says, "Yes." And A, what was her mission? And B, I don't think she completed anything.
Yes, unless her mission was to get strung along by Narek.
Like, what? This is do we ever know what her mission was?
Maybe it was to bring them Picard.
Maybe.
But shouldn't she know that? Why did she have to have her memory wiped to do what they were doing?
Look, it's a very roundabout way to get things done, but it happened. It
doesn't make any sense. Why did she, like, they all know her, but she has to have amnesia and she has to think that she's a human so that she can find out. I don't know. That did not make any sense. But no, I thought we were going to get more with her purpose of being on the Borg Cube, but no. So all those people, her whole purpose a bit is gone.
Yeah, you'd think as a synthetic that can be, like, programmed and stuff, she should be able to, like, be activated the whole time and still just be herself.
Acting.
She should be able to be a spy. But
nope.
Yeah, they haven't explained that remotely. We talked about score a little bit earlier. One of the only notable things I noticed about this was when 7 of 9 gets introduced, the Voyager score, like the Voyager opening theme plays for her, which was a nice touch. But they also kind of yada yada over the fact that a huge cube is torn down from the sky, and Elnor's not beat up at all. 7 of 9's fine, no broken arms, no bruises.
They landed right side up.
Yeah, right.
Elnor had time to change clothes.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yes, he's now wearing pajamas or like a sweat pants suit. I'm not sure what he's wearing, but he changed his clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe he pooped his pants.
Could be.
Good.
You may be wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys can't see me bleed. This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants.
They all changed their clothes, actually. But between the scene where he tells them that they're dying in like the cafeteria thing on La Serena, and then when they all changed their clothes.
Mm-hmm.
They all needed to change.
Half of them aren't wearing sleeves.
Yeah.
It's a hot planet, I guess.
That's something that Sarah pointed out. She's like there's a scene between like Raffi and Rios. It's like, why like none of them have sleeves?
Aren't you wearing sleeves? We don't need sleeves anymore. It's Rios has got a sweet mermaid tat on his arm.
It's a siren.
That's yeah.
Serena.
I had a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps that had a huge topless mermaid tattooed on his forearm.
Was it a man or a woman?
The mermaid was a female. The staff sergeant was a man.
Okay. I just check.
Yeah, it looked like it was very, 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 very strange, and so I was reminded of that with Rios's mermaid tattoo.
Oh, nice. And
brought back memories.
I like that one of the XBs yells Locutus.
Locutus.
Yeah.
And Picard looked confused again that these people know him. Shouldn't he be like, yeah, hello, it's me. Yeah, we've been through this like 3 times already now in this series.
Could be the
and
old
every time
Loeb
he's like
acting up.
I guess it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be confused anymore.
Look,
JL.
You've been part of this before. Yeah, he goes to Starfleet and he's surprised nobody does know him there. And he goes to the Borg cube and he's nothing but befuddled by the fact that people know him.
This is backwards.
Yeah. I like during their trek when they were like making their way to the artifact, and you get to see like the planet and the countryside, and it's very Star Trek-y because, like all Star Trek planets, it looks just like Southern California.
With red and blue plants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The planet looked good. Yes, it just looked like Southern California.
It's a planet.
That's actually where I was stationed with the staff sergeant with the mermaid on his arm, was Southern California in the desert. But we did not have red and blue plants. So this was very, very different.
Yeah.
Looked like a Star Trek planet.
So the Rios tattoo was an Easter egg for your life.
For me, yeah, I think they put it in there specifically for me. They've been listening to the podcast and they're like, let's throw this in for him. That's a deep dive into my past, though, to find that one random staff sergeant with a tattoo, though. Props to them. Kudos.
Yeah. And then, so they talk with 7 of 9, they talk with Elnor.
Yep.
Elnor says, you know what, I'm not part of the team anymore. You guys didn't ever really give me anything to do anyway, so I'm just going to stick here. And then the crew moves on to go to the synth village.
Well, actually, Eleanor's like, I'd like to help because I have no technical skills or abilities. I've lived in a tree my entire life, and all I have is this sword, and I have absolutely no purpose here. And Picard's like, no, we need you here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's sad to see Picard go, and he straight up tells him it's because you're dying. Because of his absolute candor.
That is the Coat Malat way.
That is the Co-op Malat way.
I continue to be confused by this relationship. It's like they want it to be like this father-son kind of relationship, but then there's also just no investment in it whatsoever. I don't feel like they've earned this. I don't know.
You weren't deeply touched when Picard was like, "I'm proud of you."
No, not even remotely. I feel like there's more of like a fatherly, like paternal relationship with Rios than there is Elnor at this point.
Right. Yeah. They've mishandled Elnor and what he could have been and what he ended up. I guess we don't know what he's going to do in part 10 of this, but he could have done a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. He I mean, obviously, they still have, I think, large things to play, both Seven and him in the next episode, and we'll see what happens.
I'm not sure what use he's going to be against 218 starships. He's got a sword.
Oh, you'll see. We'll find out.
It's going to be basically. I mean, you watched Rise of Skywalker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that what he's going to do?
It's going to be basically the same thing. The ships are going to fly in, try to run him over, and he's going to flip over and slice it off. This is how you do it.
And he's going to be running across the surface of all of them, just like in Rise of Skywalker when they're
Right.
battling on top of the Star Destroyers.
Exactly that, right? I mean,
I didn't even think about that. That's a good
They
call.
telegraphed
I feel silly for not putting two and two together there.
Mm-hmm.
It was right in front of me and I missed it.
Yeah. So after they say goodbye, then the crew finds the center where Suji came from, along with many more pairs of synthetic individuals.
So this scene, when they like crest the hill, and then we get like this emotional, weird shot of like all five of them, like all five close up of their faces,
Yeah.
and it's
we did it, guys.
they're supposed to be looking at like this grand, majestic city, or you imagine that they are like how futuristic and beautiful and gorgeous is this spectacle that they are gazing upon, and it looks like a community college. It's just a small campus of a community college is what is what they're looking at.
It does kind of, and it looks like there was like a driveway off to the side that they completely missed.
There definitely
Emerging
was.
from the woods.
Yeah. Well, they gotta be able to get into town. They gotta be able to leave.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen a shot with like the guy standing at the front gate with admission, and like, did you guys just come out of the woods? You know we have like a welcome center, right? Are you guys here for orientation?
Yeah, so then
funny.
they tell them all that a Romulan fleet is coming for them, and they are greeted by Dr. Alton Inigo Soong, Noonien Soong's son, who looks exactly like Data.
Yeah.
And he's played by Brent Spiner too. You know, he doesn't.
What a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, retired. I take it my face looks familiar.
I feel as if I'm looking at Data.
Data, if he'd gotten old and gone soft. Must be disturbing. I know it is for me. Dr. Alton Inigo Soong, mad scientist. My father had me, but he created Data. In fact, he never let me forget. Get this man some water. Organics our age get parched. We're not all machines here, you know?
So we've never heard about a son. We've never seen anything about Noonien Soong having a son. I just, if this is okay, so the internet's running wild with whether or not he's actually a human son or if it's just lore. But if it is actually just Noonien Soong's like biological son, I'm gonna be very disappointed because it's such a shoehorned in.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, this feels so out of nowhere, and like, I guess you could just add as many new characters. Like Noonien Soong had a niece that's also a specialist, and Noonien Soong had it. Just I really didn't like this reveal.
You just feel like at some point in the entire run of TNG, it would have been brought up that he had a son that looked like Data, because he would be the same age, so of course they would run into him and be like, oh, this is the actual human that looks like Data.
Especially since he, like, based on this, he's followed in his father's footsteps. He's also gone into the realm of synthetic life. You would have thought the conversation with Maddox would have brought up something about, like, oh yeah, and there's a Dr. Soong out there that we don't know where he is either.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this reveal to me just fell completely flat. It's, for somebody who's played such a big role, it would almost be like if you were watching through Star Wars and they revealed that Palpatine had a son.
Or a granddaughter.
Oh.
Or yeah.
Well, that would be a disaster.
It really was about the same response for me of like, oh, okay, so we just never needed to know this until you wanted to reveal a new character right now. I'm still of the mind that it's got to be lore. It has to be. I don't know.
We called it last week.
I really think it is.
Well, I think based on everything where this episode goes and what they're trying to do, I think it heavily implies that this guy doesn't care about organic life.
Yeah.
So I think it really leans into the lore theory.
You said lore was the evil Data, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
mean, as much of an evil twin as you can possibly get. Aside from, he basically might as well be wearing, the evil mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go ahead.
It just seems like that's what they're doing. The sense, I asked last week, I think, are the Synths gonna be the bad guys? Are we helping the bad guys with this, and is it gonna turn on its head? And if Lore is the bad guy, and you think that the Soong is Lore, who's the bad guy, that makes sense.
Yeah. But also, what we talked about last week, for you, Joel, as somebody from the outside of Star Trek, watching this, if lore being introduced in the last episode or last two episodes would if it would mean anything to you, your response was generally no, it wouldn't mean anything. It doesn't hold any weight. You don't have history with that. That's basically what happened. Them introducing Noonien Soong's son. I was like,
yeah, just
okay,
some random.
It doesn't mean anything to anybody. Yeah.
If it is lore, what do they gain by concealing it for one episode? Unless this storyline plays through, the coming seasons, that seems silly that they would misdirect for one episode.
I totally agree with you. I have no idea where they're going with this. When they revealed, I was okay with it not being lore, in general, the series pointing towards lore. I was totally fine if they didn't go that route. But for them to introduce an equally obscure and even with no context, a new character that should play a huge role in the universe prior to this moment, I was like, okay, I really hope it is lore now, just for some grounding in what we know about Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Yeah. Anyway, so they meet.
Yeah, and then Soji recounts everything that brought them there. Luckily, she does it off camera. And then while she does this, Picard meets Sutra, who is Jana's sister, who Rios knows. And then Sutra asks Jurati about the admonition that she experienced and suggests that it might be driving the Romulans mad because it was never meant for organic minds to experience. So then she performs a Vulcan mind meld on Jurati and experiences the admonition for herself.
So Sutra is Jana's. Jana, is that it?
Yeah, Jana or Jana.
Jana or however. How is it that Rios had this whole like existential crisis? He collapses in on himself at the sight of Soji, and has this picture and everything, but fails to mention even once that she had golden skin.
She's golden, yeah.
She's got golden skin. That seems like a pretty big identifier.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. I think Kaylee said the same thing. Like, no mention of the gold.
I love gold.
Or the yellow eyes.
The yellow eyes. Yeah, they honestly don't look that similar. I don't know that years apart. How long ago had that been?
Like
if
10 years.
If I saw somebody one time, and granted, like she held a
when they were murdered in front of you by your father of a captain.
But then I just see some random person years later, not gold. It's strange.
Well, you got to think, if you see somebody who's gold, you're going to remember that. You're not going to forget somebody who's gold.
I love gold so much that I even lost my genitalia in an unfortunate smelting accident.
And somebody whose name is Beautiful Flower. Mm-hmm. So they made 4 of. Did we get an explanation for why Jana and
why they all look the same?
Sutra are twins, and then Soji and Daj, because all the other sets seem different. Like there's twins, but they're all different twins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no explanation for that. I'm really curious.
You just liked that model.
So, but here's what's weird to me: the general explanation we were given, like at the beginning of this series, was that Data had some sort of connection with these characters, whether it was like plans of his, because he painted their likenesses, right? And
right.
Data's been gone for like 2 decades at this point. So somebody picked that up down the line, like Picard's panic at the beginning to go to his vault and go, pull the painting from Data out to see the face, made it seem like that's a painting that not very many people have seen, if anybody. So like, I don't know. I'm trying to connect a dot here that I can't seem to find a way, like, unless Maddox somehow saw that painting at some point. I don't know.
Well, the person in charge of physically making them is the Soong character, Alton Inigo Soong. So if we are going off of the theory that this might be lore, it could be very possible that whatever is in like the subconscious of Data, where these faces came from to put in that art, could also be there in lore as well. So it could be that both Data and lore might have a shared vision for these quote-unquote daughters.
That this is just kind of a memory from Noonien and Soong originally anyway?
Maybe. So then Jurati finds Dr. Soong making butterflies. And then they talk about the man she killed and what she did. And then Soong offers her the chance to create a life instead of taking one. He reveals a golem.
A golem. Is this going to be Data or is this going to be Picard?
Oh, my mind went to like a Bruce Maddox duplicate.
Oh, really?
I thought Bruce Maddox too.
I thought this is our loophole out of Picard's condition. I think the brain aneurysm is going to get worse, and they're going to upload his consciousness to so he gets to be the best of both worlds, right? He gets to be totally human and totally synthetic. He gets to finally be what his best friend in the whole world was. Best friend being Data, obviously, because they had so much history and backstory I think this is what the whole season has been pointing to, is that Picard will now become the bridge between synthetic and organic life, and he'll go back to the Federation and they'll have to rewrite their laws and all that.
Wow.
Is it going to be old Picard?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, they're not going to de-age him?
They're not going to
make him look
young
like he did in
Picard?
X-Men: The Last Stand?
As much as I would love to give what's-his-face more work, what's his name? From X-Men.
James McAvoy.
James McAvoy, yeah. As much as I'd love to see James McAvoy get some more work, I don't think they're going to risk Patrick Stewart not being the face of this show.
I would be super angry if I was like 93 and they made me a new robot body and it was just me at 93 again. If I didn't get any upgrades, nothing.
I mean,
well,
I don't know.
He could look like an old man, but he could still move like Data, or like
Right.
He could be like Yoda in Attack of the Clones.
I guess, but they went out of their way to point out how wrinkled he was and how old he looks.
Yeah.
Look at all these wrinkles on your face.
And then they're just gonna stick him right back in the same body. I don't know.
I mean, they could de-age him. I don't know.
They shouldn't.
They tried to do that with Data at the beginning of the series, and it just doesn't look great.
Yeah.
We're not quite there.
Yeah.
No, they shouldn't do it. But
Brent Spiner's face, compared to how he looked in like the late 80s, early 90s, is very different. Whereas Picard, if you take away, like, you can actually, I think, with de-aging, make him look more of an approximation to how he was back then.
You think so?
Yeah. I think actually the bigger challenge is his voice.
I don't know. But as soon as they introduced the Golem, I went, okay, that's why this series is called Picard, because this is going to be the implications of him becoming synthetic. And we've also walked with him throughout this whole, like, losing his identity and part of the Borg and all, like, narratively, this is why it's called Star Trek Picard. At least that's what I'm hoping, because so far this show should have been called Star Trek Data.
Why would the Federation care that he was now synthetic?
Because of the ban.
Yeah, wouldn't they just be like, okay, well, you're banned now, bye.
I mean,
well, they talk about him being like practically the face on the brochure and whatnot, so it'd be hard for them to separate themselves from. It would put them in a very interesting predicament where they're like, no, thank you. But at the same time, everybody joined Starfleet that the great Jean-Luc Picard was part of.
But he went on national television and burned them, and then, there's clearly no love lost between the two parties. So I guess, and he's been disconnected for 14 years. So if he showed back up as a synthetic, I don't see why they would care.
I think it would give Clancy an option. What is her name? Admiral Clancy. She could pop up again and curse at him some more.
Yeah.
That'd be the perfect shot of that.
We do need another one of those scenes.
Right at the end of the series, she's like,
I don't give a beep that you're a robot now, Picard.
That would be, that'd be worth it to me. But then the other thought of it being Maddox would be interesting. How would they pull that off? Like, because I guess we don't know that they don't have his body anymore.
They could have kept it. But I thought about Maddox too. What does bringing Maddox back do to the story?
Further
makes
redeems.
Jurati feel less bad.
Yeah, basically.
is that like it's just another pass? Like, oh look, Girardi, we undid your murder.
Yeah,
Mhm.
basically.
I guess that could, man. If that, I hope they don't do that.
Oh, it
They
could
need to
happen.
treat murderers more harshly there.
What if Maddox comes back and he's just like pissed that Girardi was like, what the heck?
It's like,
And then he
Girardi,
murders her.
What the F?
I showed you my cookie recipe. I don't know. Either way, I mean, somebody's going in the golem, right? Like, it's where this is headed. It's not gonna be soon.
Yeah.
No, somebody is going to. I would agree. And I guess it looks like it could be Picard because he has two interactions, both when he said goodbye on the Borg cube to 7-9 and Elnor, and then when he says goodbye to Raffi. Both sets of characters look at him, and there's like an air of finality to it. It's not like they're just saying goodbye. It's like, he's gone. Goodbye, Picard.
Yeah, it's
and
like...
they definitely sit on them looking at him leaving. So it's very possible that he dies. And then they're like, oh no, and then they're like, oh, just kidding, he's not dead.
Yeah, it's like Han Solo looking out at the from the shuttle Tidarium, and he's looking out at the Millennium Falcon, and he's like, I have a feeling like it's the last time I'm gonna see her.
Yeah,
which was not true at all.
It was not.
I every time I watch that now, I'm like, but it's not.
Yeah.
So we jumped over something that one of my biggest issues with this episode. In order to get the vision from Girardi, what's her name? Not Soji, Sutra. Yeah, Sutra performs the Vulcan mind meld. How?
Yes, she did.
On Earth? We've established already that like even Counselor Troy can't feel any. She's empathic, and so she couldn't even feel any emotion coming off of Soji. Like, this is a pretty well established thing in Star Trek that like Data's mind can't be read. He's not susceptible to anything empathic. They can't like. But how did this android do a spiritual ritual to mind meld with somebody and it worked perfectly?
She learned it.
She learned it.
That's what it's
the most ridiculous thing.
She researched it a lot. Is it possible? This thought, I thought the same thing, Ryan. It doesn't make any sense. I was watching with Kaylee. I was like, can non-Vulcans do this? And she said no. And is it possible that she learned to do it or modified whatever they do for synthetics? Because they're both synthetics. Is it possible that she's just like downloading the file?
I would have been way more satisfied if they went the route of like, oh, we borrowed this from the Borg and I can upload it, because that's already like a synthetic to organic connection that we know about in universe.
Or it's like a Bluetooth data transfer.
Yeah. Like, I would have been way more content with that than we're going to just borrow the mind meld. Anybody can do this now. Robots can do it. Like,
you just got to research the Vulcans long enough, and it's a talent that unlocks.
I was really, really disappointed with that. I don't know if they just decided they were out of budget and they're like, it's easier to have her just put her hand on her face. I don't know. It really bugged me and continues to bug me that was just yada yada'd over. Oh, she learned it.
Yep.
Okay.
She can do it now.
Anyway, that was before we got too far away from that. I had to circle back and complain.
What strong feelings do you have about that, Travis? How many nights sleep have you lost over the mind meld?
It didn't make sense to me, and then I just kind of got
And then you
over
moved
it.
on.
Just
I
forgot
guess
about
it's
it. Yeah.
another thing
Okay.
the show did. All right.
Like a normal person,
Uh,
just moved on.
basically.
And
All right,
then,
so
She doesn't. She explains her. So Sutra explains her side of it at the end of the episode, right?
a little bit. She
She says like, "Oh, it makes sense now," or no, she's like fascinating.
Yeah, she says fascinating, and then here later, Sutra and Soju, they're talking in vague terms about a solution that Sutra brought up to her off screen, and Soju disapproves of it, and she just suggests running, but then Sutra says, she's not going to allow them to run off and be hunted again. And
Yeah.
then suddenly Narek is brought in as a prisoner.
Yeah, and Sutra says, "Look what the cat drug in," as if she knew. Like, did she figure out who he was from the mind meld?
Sure, why not? Let's go with that.
Because she just knew who he was, and I think even if Soji like told her about him and described her, she would still be like, "Is that him?" She's just like, "Yep, there he is. That's our old boy."
Well, she at
all
least
she had to say was he's a handsome Romulan. That's
yeah,
all.
I was gonna say she could tell that he was a Romulan. So even if she wasn't specifically talking about like, oh, that old boyfriend of yours, be like, oh, there's some
Oh, he's
some handsome
pretty hot for
Romulans,
Romulan.
yeah.
That must be Nar.
And the dudes that brought Narek in are those androids are jacked, man.
Were those the model from Mars?
No, I don't think so. These are completely different than anything we saw on Mars.
But the two specifically that drug him in, they looked like. I mean, it could have just been like a buff bald dude
because they were bald, and yeah, I don't think so.
I didn't go back and slow it down. It just looked like, and we know that they reuse models because we have like 98 Sojis out there, maybe more. Who knows?
Who knows how many other Starfleet captains?
But you guys didn't notice that it was him.
It's not him specifically. If you're saying that maybe it's like a similar model, maybe. But
no, I'm not. Yeah, just like the same model. I'm not implying that they're secretly spies in the. I'm just looks like the same dude. That's all.
Yeah.
Here, let me
It's
look
not
up this
important
guy.
for any reason whatsoever. Just it looked like the same guy.
The next scene, we get a very important throwback. Girardi is in Maddox's office with Stu. Spot was Data's cat on board the Enterprise, and it was just a little nod.
That's who he wrote the rap about, right?
Yeah, that's
that's the rap
that Snoop Dogg ripped.
I've written my next poem in honor of my cat. I call it Ode to Spot.
Yeah. I'm not sure who decided that should be the name of the cat. I don't know. Like Maddox, I guess Maddox would make sense because he admired and really wanted to study Data. So I guess it makes sense that if he makes a synthetic cat, it would be as an homage to Data, I guess. But Data's cat was not synthetic; it was organic.
Does it look like the cat though?
Oh yeah, it looks just like it.
Okay.
Orange cat.
So then I can see, like, if I was gonna create a fake cat based on a real cat, I might just name it the same thing.
Yeah. No, as soon as they cut to that cat, I'm like, oh, and there's a Spot reference.
Yeah.
Do you think Girardi is going to recite a spoken word poem about Spot 2 in honor of Data?
I thought they would just bring it full circle, that Spot 2 would give a poem about...
A spoken word poem about Data. Or Soji.
Or Maddox, I mean, his owner.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
That would have been good. Maybe that's in a deleted scene or a webisode.
Yeah.
Is the cat rap by the cat.
By the cat. Sure. And then
Rios comes to like say goodbye to her, and then Raffi is given a device by Saga or Kana. I don't know which is which. They both look the same to me. And is told that it will help repair her ship when she uses her imagination. And then
It's an ocarina.
It looked like an ocarina, yeah.
Looked just like an ocarina. She handed it to him. I was like, oh, that's an ocarina.
It's somewhere between an ocarina and like the remote from Click.
Yeah, that's true.
And probably does about the same kind of thing as both of those combined anyway.
You could call Epona, make it rain, or rewind a day. It's up to you. Use your imagination. And that's what she says. She's like, what do I do with it? Oh, it fixes things.
Mm-hmm.
Use your imagination. She's like, oh, great, thanks.
So then she thinks Picard, says goodbye, and then she tells him that she loves him.
I'm sorry. I'm breaking the rules.
Raffi?
No, just... After everything that you've done for me, I need to say thank you. I love you, Jana. Oh, you don't have to say it back to me.
I don't.
Not unless you want to. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
I love you too, Raffi.
Do you guys think that she meant romantically?
Like him?
Does she like him? Yeah.
I don't know, and to be honest, I don't really care. It's just
I don't think it matters. Picard's response, just with the whole narrative of him not caring about Raffi, it's like, Picard, I love you. You don't have to say it back. He's like,
okay.
I don't.
Okay.
And so, like, you could take it, him asking her, I don't have to say it back, or he was just saying, I don't love you, Raffi. I've tried to make that very clear. I don't care about you whatsoever. And she's like, oh, she misinterprets it. He's just, I don't love you.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah, then he gives a
that's
very
funny.
awkward, I love you too, Raffi, before walking off and avoiding eye contact at all.
Yeah. He says it just like someone would say it when they feel like they have to say it, but it's not true. I love you too.
Do you think they were trying to go for the Han and Leia I love you, I know thing going on?
No.
Then they should have just done it. Just
Yeah,
have
I
him
mean,
say,
just
I
rip
know.
it.
That would have been way better.
If
If you would have Han Solo'd her.
for him.
Yeah. Show off that hubris of his and just say, I know.
I know everyone loves me. I'm frickin' Picard.
I'm JL Picard. Gosh darn it.
I mean that would have made the series for me at least. I would have been thoroughly entertained.
If he said you and the rest of planet Earth. And then he turns around and walks away.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
But no, that's not what we got.
No, we got a super awkward scene instead.
Well, hey, at least somebody loves Raffi after all this.
Do they? I'm not convinced.
So
He
then,
said it. I mean,
yeah,
of course.
he does. And then
I
Picard,
guess.
he goes and he sends out a message in a plea for the Federation to protect the inhabitants of Gulian 4 from the Romulan attack. And then we then see Narek in his cell begging for Saga or Kana for water. And before she gets it for him, Soji arrives to stop her and tells him that he disgusts her. And then Narek tells her that they will rain fire onto this world and destroy every so-called living thing on it, even her.
So
Me.
Mm-hmm.
For I am also here.
It's amazing how many main characters survived the crash to the planet. It's downright astounding.
Those orchids give a soft landing. I looked them up. I looked up reviews for the landing systems, and they're good. 4.5 stars for the orchid landing system.
That's good. And then I was distracted during this scene with Picard sending out this message because he's at this desk, and in the foreground you just see this frame, and it's a Harry Potter type frame because it's moving pictures. And it's Girardi and Maddox kissing the whole time.
Oh, this is a Harry Potter frame.
Oh.
Why are these better?
Why do you want a close-up? I would never have a picture, like a selfie, that Kaylee and I took of us kissing. Because it's just a weird angle. Like, if it was a professionally done picture, sure, fine. But a close-up selfie of you kissing...
with cookies in their mouths.
In a 3-second GIF format?
I don't know.
Weird.
I was very distracted by that, too, yeah. Why is this any better than just a still image?
Just a picture of your faces.
Right. It's constantly moving. It's going to be nothing but a distraction. It's the same kind of thought I had. Like, at least the pictures in Harry Potter, like, can engage you on some level.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This was a terrible application of that. And I guess it was really just to remind the audience that, oh yeah, remember that they had a relationship?
Maybe the actors, Allison Pill and whoever played Bruce Banner, the Hulk, maybe they hated each other, and so this was the only shot that they got. Like, this was it.
Could
I guess
be.
so.
And in the script, she wasn't even supposed to kill him. She just did, and the cameras were rolling, and they're like, well, shoot, now he's dead. We have to incorporate this into the script.
So
it's like a Dungeons and Dragons style shoot. She's like, I turn off life support. Yes. All right, I mean, roll for medical.
Yeah, Maddox, saving throw, and he's like, 2. Oh, you failed.
Yeah,
you die, Maddox.
The actor's like, I've got a 6-episode contract.
I'm like,
you
no.
Can't kill me.
Your career was dead, and now so are you.
Yeah. Maddox is like, shouldn't there be an EMH or something? He's like, I deactivate the EMH.
Okay, roll for deactivation. 20. Sorry, Maddox, you're dead.
Yeah. You failed your saving throws. I mean, anyway, how do we get here? Also, why is Narek still alive?
He's got some role to play.
He does.
He's got to stab the lady in the eye with her sparrow pen or whatever she's got.
Yeah, and then because then Picard and Soji have a conversation about trading life for life and how there is no calculus for it. And then all the while we see it's intercut with Sutra approaching Narek, and she opens his cell, and then she tells Narek that she was concerned her desire to kill him would outweigh what needs to be done. And then Picard and Soji hear a scream and come out to find that Saga has been murdered by Narek and that he's escaped.
Do you guys think that the tail on that little pin would be enough to kill you if stabbed through the eye?
Nope. I've never tried to kill a synthetic person before, so...
It didn't seem like the tail was that long to pierce through the eye and into a necessary part of the brain.
Well, again, we don't know what part of the anatomy would kill a synthetic, so maybe...
Well, aren't they exactly like... Well, I guess
these
Soji
ones aren't. The copper skin ones are not.
Okay, that's true. He could have interrupted some circuit.
At the same time, theoretically, trying to do that same thing to Data would end terribly for whoever's trying to do it, because he should be like super fast and reflexive and strong and indestructible. Yeah.
Even if you caught him off guard, say you're able to stab him in the eye, he's still a robot and isn't really going to feel pain. His response is going to be, all right, I'm just going to splatter you against the wall.
Yeah, how do you kill a synthetic? Like, are there any other synthetics in Star Trek that die?
I mean, Data does.
But he's like blown up with a ship.
He's blown up.
Like, I'm wondering what sort of wounds would kill. Like, are there parts of them that they can lose that would be necessary for a human?
I mean,
and
Data's head
not...
gets detached, and he's still like, he can be a head.
Does he just talk as a head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then how in the world would stabbing one in the eye kill it?
Yeah, this is a great question. One that the the writers did not think through. It just doesn't. There's no like. We've kind of skipped ahead a couple scenes, but I think she let him go, right? Like, that's the only explanation.
Oh yeah.
It's implied in the conversation with Picard and Soji that like that's what's going on. They're talking about trading life for life by means of murder, and that's exactly what this plan of Sutra and Soji's is doing.
So you think Soji is in on it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's
doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this.
And doesn't this further cement that Sutra's a bad guy?
Oh, she's absolutely a bad guy. This is, she's been kind of a psycho from the first episode.
No, Sutra.
Right.
And you think Soji's going along because she's like, these are my people?
Yep.
So the synthetics are now the bad guys?
Yeah.
It looks like it. What else would they send a Romulan spy off to the Borg cube for?
I think it's pretty well
we did
laid
skip
out.
ahead.
Didn't
we? Well, this is like the end of the episode.
I don't think we've skipped anything. Because we're about to get to the last scene.
Yeah, because there was, the conversation between Picard and Soji was about like trading life for life and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Well then, shout out to Narek's JanSport backpack from Walmart that he's got.
Mm-hmm.
It was the scene before, I guess, the first scene that we see him.
Where he's like, trying to talk.
Give me my water.
Mm-hmm.
And they show the backpack, and it's just like an $8 Walmart backpack that he's got.
Also, what is that room supposed? Is that just a prison? There's no other uses for it, right?
Look, yeah, she's like, we've never had a prisoner before, but we've had this super high-tech prison ready to go.
Right. Sometimes we catch the local wildlife and just put them in here until they die.
In it?
Yeah.
So then when we roll into the next scene, Sutra is dead. It's dead. There's no saving her. She got jabbed through the eye.
Well, not Sutra. Saga.
Saga.
And Soong is all upset because her beautiful eye. What did they do to your beautiful eye?
Their golden eye.
Because he talked about how he's the guy who puts the physical bodies together. So of course he's more concerned with what happened to the physical attributes of this person and not the person themselves, which I thought was interesting.
Yes. Yeah, I caught that. That was funny. That he was concerned about the beautiful golden eye,
and
not the design flaw that getting poked a little bit could kill you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not important.
And then so then right after that, Sutra, she's addressing all of the synthetics, and Picard comes through the crowd and approaches her, and she believes the admonition was a promise and that there are higher synthetic beings out there.
They don't just unite. Their purpose is to seek out advanced synthetic life and excise it from the oppression by organics.
Excise?
Let's say they eliminate the threat of extermination that all organic life forms ultimately pose.
Did you just say all?
Are you and your Federation any different from the Romulans? Banning synthetics was just a way of exterminating us in advance.
So, you're going to destroy us all. You will become mass murderers.
I'm not like you, Picard. I will rescue those I can rescue. My people will survive.
And you will fulfill their prophecy. You will become the destroyer after all. Everyone, after the ban, after the Ibn Majid, I understand why you did not trust the Federation, why you might not have trusted me. But I have a ship, and there is room for all of you. I will see to your safety. And when you are safe, I will become an advocate on your behalf. I will speak to the Federation with your voice. I will demand that they end the ban. And the Federation will listen to me.
No, they won't. Look at them. Never met anyone like you before. That granite face, wisdom and integrity etched into every line. The eloquence, the conviction. They don't know what hit them. Now, back on Earth, kids, they didn't listen to him after the attack on Mars. And they're not going to believe him now. We're gonna have to place you under house arrest.
What?
Yeah, Picard quarantined.
Yeah.
On the week that everyone is quarantined. Do you think they knew? Do you think they saw this coming?
Maybe.
They extrapolated the data based on the coronavirus's last known location and quarantined Picard.
It's,
he is an at-risk demographic, so that was smart of them to do. My dad is like 64 or 65, and he said a couple times, speaking of old people, he's like, I'm not worried about the I'm not worried about getting it. I just don't want to spread it. I'm like, Dad, no, you should absolutely be worried about it. You are the person. You are the exact kind of person that should worry about it. But it's a little bit funny that she is like, you guys don't understand this, but I totally understand it, and you have to listen to me. Because I feel like there's religions in history, and maybe even currently, that do this. Like, no, you're misinterpreting this. Let me tell you about it, and what I think about it is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at least she doesn't try and disguise her intentions, because then she's like, but no, we're totally just going to kill everybody. So let me get this straight. She says that they misunderstand the premonition to take the Romulans believe that the synths are going to kill everybody. And she's like, that's not true. You guys misunderstand it. We are actually going to kill everybody.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's it.
No, the misunderstanding was exactly what you were referring to.
That's precisely what we've been worried about this entire time.
Yeah. I'm curious that there's apparently this other AI race that's out there. It's not really anything we've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, if we're cherry picking the best of Star Trek, so this other Soong is actually lore, and you have an AI super genius, super race. I wonder if it won't be this is their answer to the Q continuum, that the Q are actually synthetic all along.
Mm.
I don't know, because they've really tried to pick the best of Star Trek thus far.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's true. And
I don't know.
we still have to see what's his name from Nepenthe episode 7 that Riker's kid was calling.
Oh,
the
yeah,
captain.
yeah.
He's gonna have to show up too.
I asked Captain Cranby.
That's how Riker
I don't remember his name.
Is the neighbor guy flies in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they're the only ones that know about the planet.
Yeah,
Starfleet hasn't shown up.
And Picard's plea to Starfleet, I thought about this, backtracking a little bit. I guess I don't understand. They don't show you a map of where everything is, but he's asking Starfleet to come and intercede and protect them, but they know that the Romulans are headed in their direction at warp speed and are a day away at most. And so he's putting out this SOS. Do we have any way of knowing how close they are? Is Deep Space 12? We don't know the distance, right? Because I guess it's possible that where they are is like a mile away from Deep Space 12.
Well,
Yeah,
what
but
he
it's still
could tell,
deep space.
yeah, he could tell them if they're in like Deep Space 12, they could be close to that that Borg, tunnel that they traveled through. So if he
Do
gives
other
them,
people use that? Can other people use that?
yeah, and Eric did, and the Borg cube did.
Other people can.
They just
You
have to know where it is.
You have to be able to activate it.
Hmm.
And so, because like that's the end of Voyager, was they use one of those. What is it? The Borg tunnels. There's a name
I don't
for it.
know. Yeah.
But that's how they get back from like Delta Quad. But yeah, so I mean, I guess Deep Space 12, they know it was close by, assuming they can send some ships pretty quickly. Maybe they could use the Borg tunnel and get there quick. I don't know. I get a distinct feeling it's just going to get yada yada over. Everybody's
Rafi
show up.
Rafi says we just came 25 light years in 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the Romulans are right on their tail. So this seems like if you're standing in the room with a murderer and you call 911 to send a police officer to save you.
Yep.
Like this guy's coming at you with a knife and you're like, hold on, please send the police to say it. Just I don't think it's going to work.
I think they're just going to yada yada it. I think it's just going to happen however they want it to happen. Because I think Riker's going to show up too, and that's going to be, he doesn't know anything about the Borg tunnels. He's gonna fly the whole way there. I mean, they left Nepenthe and basically went straight here, and it took them a day or two maybe.
The pizza's gonna get cold.
He's right.
Not 30 minutes or less.
Oh man, that would be great if that was his line. He gets there and he's like, got a pizza for Picard, 30 minutes or less. That would just be, I mean, and by great line, I mean, it'd be a terrible line, but it would be at least self-aware.
I would be on board for Riker showing up with a pizza to save them from the Romulan. Yeah.
I liked that none of the Borg were like looking at 7 of 9 like, what the heck, man? Like, you just took us over, and then immediately lost everybody.
Yeah, it's true.
Worst queen ever.
Yeah, right. Your reign is over. And it was terrible.
For it begun.
Man.
And then Jurati joins them too. She betrays Picard.
Yeah, this is just everybody betraying
Or at
Picard.
least on the surface, she could be.
Sutra has
she's
that
gonna,
line
like,
where
keep-
she's like, tell me if I'll be able to tell if you're lying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which that feels more in line with Data. Like he would be able to analyze facial tics and everything.
Like Looking Glass and Watchmen.
Just going to ask you a series of questions. Answer them honestly, and you can go home.
Yes.
Or the guy from Lie to Me with micro expressions.
I don't know that show.
No Lie to Me fans? No.
What?
Somebody will get that.
Somebody out there.
Is that a USA show?
Yeah, it's on. This guy, he's like a psychologist, and I guess it's real science. When you react to something, your face twitches. You make what's called a micro expression.
Mm-hmm.
And so the show, it's a procedural show where he's like this consultant, and he gets hired, and he uses micro expressions to analyze and catch people lying and stuff.
That's what Looking Glass does.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah,
I don't
well, then
know,
it's...
I don't know anything about Lie to Me, but you should definitely watch Watchmen. And then listen to our podcast about Watchmen.
It's a plug within a plug.
It's a plugception.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, everything's falling apart. People are betraying Picard left and right. This was another scene that I felt like the Soong character felt very much like Lore. Lore is so like where Data was very much just pure android. He strived to become human, but he didn't have emotions and stuff. Lore had emotion and was very manipulative and very dramatic and stuff. And this scene with the Soong son felt a lot like Lore and how he would just outright. It's like Picard's talking about how he can convince them. He's like, I'll be your ambassador and stuff. And they'll listen to me. And he's like, no, they won't.
No, you can't.
That was very reminiscent of like Lore just playing a room.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for them talking about Picard being a speech maker, this was a very good speech. It was very convincing. And he just
nobody bought it.
Shut it down.
Yeah, Picard really has not gotten to make it many speeches so far.
True. Yeah, in the past few episodes he has, but yeah, the series as a whole, not so much.
Yeah. It's a new Picard for a new generation.
Yeah, so
this is the nextest generation.
Yeah, and then they cart him away, and we see Commodore O in full Romulan garb, along with all the other Romulans and their warbirds, and they are 24 hours away and approaching. And that's the end of the episode.
Oh no. Commodore O can just kind of go wherever she wants, I guess. I mean, she doesn't have any like duties. She's no meetings that are waiting on her. She just kind of shows up where she needs to when she needs to.
Well, I think the obvious explanation to that is that Starfleet has put all operating on hold because of the coronavirus. They're all shut down.
Yeah.
Because of COVID-19.
COVID-19. Little known fact, COVID-19 is a silicon-based disease. And the cure has to be synthesized through a neurosynthetic something or other Star Trek gobbledygook.
Makes
sense. If only they hadn't banned synthetic life.
Only.
None of this ever would have happened.
I walk away from this episode really just I have no idea where we're going.
No idea, right?
I have thoughts on as far as like I think Picard ends up as a synthetic, like things like that. But I really like. I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know what the moral is anymore. Everybody's been warning this whole time about synthetic life, and now they get there, and the synthetic life is trying to kill everybody. I don't have any idea what. I'm assuming that they're gonna try and get in touch with this super AI species, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, nothing in Star Trek prior to this sounds like it's gonna fit the bill. Like this has got to be something new.
How do you guys feel about that if they do it? Like, isn't that a little bit far-fetched? There's been a few shows that I've watched that just make you go, okay, like Prison Break is one that started out really good, and then they just like keep building layers upon layers of secrecy. And The Blacklist was good for a season or two, and then it just got. And there's just a point in a few shows that do this. That you're just like, okay, all right, I'm done. This is ridiculous. Do you? When they mentioned that, I got like a little my own premonition. Like, is that where we're going? And I'm just gonna throw up my hands and be like, okay, this is space AI gods.
I mean, Star Trek, it's pretty common for them to throw like a new super genius something or other that they stumble across or whatnot. Like, they're always discovering new things. That's part of what made like Next Generation really interesting, was like you never knew what they were going to encounter next. If they're going to make this super AI like an integral plot device. Like, it's coming, it's gonna destroy everything. I feel like it needed to be established before now, especially before the last 2 episodes. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Travis?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it does feel a lot of like out of nowhere.
Unless this is going to be the driving point of the next 2 seasons.
Neither of you guys played the Mass Effect series, right?
Negative.
I played like an hour or 2 of the first game.
Oh, so you're well versed.
Yeah.
You're very familiar with that universe.
Well, I mean, if you played an hour or 2, though, you would have gotten past the first planet. Other people have made this correlation before, but the twists that they're kind of taking us on, the whole conversation of synthetic versus organic life, a lot of this is ground that was tread in the Mass Effect games. Like the first planet you go to, you run into an ancient artifact. That artifact gives you a vision of synthetic life coming and taking out, killing everything. There's just there's even a race that's kind of an anagram for the Borg. There's so many parallels at this point.
An anagram for the Borg, is that based on real guys?
What? It's based on real guys.
Oh, that's an acronym. Never mind. Never mind. I got
an acronym, an anagram.
An acronym based on real guys. Borg. Never mind. Continue.
No, like there's a synthetic life form. They're not like a parasite like the Borg are. Anyway, it's just it's very fleshed out, and this episode in particular, like the way things are playing out, feels very similar. The whole series of games kind of takes place around the fact that this super AI is coming back to wipe life out. It just feels very reminiscent, and so most of this episode felt derivative of the Mass Effect games, and I don't know how they'll be able to do it better than what Mass Effect did, because those games were like probably 60 hours depending on how you played it, but like 60 hours each game, so they had like you had just so much set up for what was coming, whereas Picard now has one other episode to set up what this AI is, and I don't really buy it.
You think they're going to do like 14 seasons of Picard, and we'll get there eventually?
Maybe if they de-age him, if they go like the McAvoy, maybe they could do that.
Maybe
we'll still be in quarantine doing podcasts about season 14 of Picard.
A great other option would be Tom Hardy. Now that I think about it, I mean, he's already played young Picard once. He has a great presence on screen. I don't really get the sense that Tom Hardy can play the intellectual type that Picard is. But,
Tom Hardy can do everything.
He's a great actor. Do you think Tom Hardy, as we know him now, could play a Picard type character?
Oh yeah, I think he's only gotten better.
Yes.
Really? Maybe I've just not seen. I mean, most of the movies that I've seen him in recently have all been he's kind of just a big, mostly quiet, like Mad Max or Bane or
Have you seen Peaky Blinders?
No, I haven't.
So he shows up as the villain in season 3. Not really not a villain, I guess. Not in season 3, and it's a large departure from Mad Max or Bane. Like,
is it
much more of an erratic character?
Yeah. There's a movie called Bronson that I've intended on watching. That is apparently just 2 hours of Tom Hardy just acting his heart out.
Yeah, he does the
But,
same thing in Locke, if you've heard of that. It's him in a car the whole time. Are you familiar with Buried with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
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 Where he's in the coffin the whole time. It's
The entire
that
time.
It's that with but like Tom Hardy in a car.
And Phone Booth with Ethan Hawke. Is it Ethan Hawke?
No, that's Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell, yes.
Yeah.
They look the same, don't they? They look similar. Colin Farrell, Ethan Hawke.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where this series is going. I don't know. I kind of wish at this point they would have spent more time on like having a full narrative put together and not like, hey, maybe we could do a second season of it. I wish it was more the route of like The Watchmen, where they're like, this is the story we're going to tell. We're content with what it is, and we'll be done with it after that. I hope that they're not setting up this AI to be like the big bad for the next 3 seasons. That would, I don't know. It's not going to hold my interest, I don't think.
I hear that, but I mentioned a couple of other shows, like The Blacklist and Prison Break, and I'm sure we could come together and name 20 that have a really good first season, a really strong premise, and then it just falls apart because they write one really good season and they're like, oh, this was a great show, this was good, we need more of it.
That's what I mean, though, is I wish they would have.
No, so are you saying that you wish season 1 was more an individual story?
I wish that they would have just done a single season and really put a lot of focus on it.
Sure.
And been done with it.
Yeah, so that
No
would be fine, like one season and you're done. But since they're obviously not doing that, I guess I'm a little bit glad that they do seem to be looking forward into the seasons and not having to come up with elements to add to the story. Obviously they're going to do that, and the writing and like it hasn't been real solid, but I guess I'm glad that they're sort of looking forward to, if that's what they're doing, maybe they resolve this whole storyline next episode. We don't know. So I have a question before we get to the last episode. I've said on this podcast before that shows and movies, for me, the ending ruins a show or a movie, like Inception and Arrival and How I Met Your Mother. Would you guys, Travis, would you recommend somebody watch this show based on what we've seen? Both for a Star Trek fan and not a Star Trek fan.
I think so. I think it's exciting to see, a series centered around the Picard character and Patrick Stewart in general. And I think as a Star Trek fan, it's exciting, even if they're not doing things in the way that you're expecting them to. There's still some fun and exciting things going on. The Nepenthe episode in and of itself kind of makes the season worth it, and I like the previous episode a whole lot, and I'm interested to see where this one's going to be going.
Okay. Ryan, would you recommend a non-Star Trek fan watch this show?
A non-Star Trek fan? I don't think so. Mostly because I think they've done a disservice to Picard in general. Like you have pointed out multiple times, he just seems like kind of a dick. He's not. There's no relationship. You don't know anything about what Picard has done in the past, and so every move he's made has just really been self-absorbed, and he seems just completely oblivious to what's happening around him. I don't feel like it's a great entry point to the series. I don't feel like you walking away from Picard are going to feel inclined to invest more in Star Trek. And I think there's actually genuinely good things in Star Trek. And so, no, as a first introduction to Star Trek, I think it's a terrible way to experience the universe.
I would agree. Star Trek seems like it's this full, robust world, and we see a very, very small part of it. And with the titular character, who's like the most iconic, I guess you could argue between him and Kirk, just for like name recognition. This has not been a good look for Picard, like you said, at all. But I don't know. They could redeem the show and kill him in episode 10.
They could do it. First episode of season 2, Guinan shows up and lobs off his head, just like Avengers.
He's gone. Yeah.
All right, and we'll see if that happens. We'll see if that happens next weekend at Arcadia Ego Part 2. In the meantime, guys, is there anything you want to say?
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Stay home.
Yep, stay home.
Don't go visit your
Has there ever been an event like this that applies to everybody? At work today, well, not at work, from the exact point that I'm sitting right now, I was talking to somebody in backwoods Louisiana, and she's like, well, obviously we're worried about this coronavirus and everything, and I can't think of anything that's ever applied to absolutely everybody.
Getting rickrolled online.
Okay, that's true. I forgot about the rickroll pandemic.
You gotta watch out which links you click on.
But YouTube is really, like, the ads have really ruined the rickroll.
It does take some of the wind out of it, doesn't it?
You see it. You click on it and you see that, and you're like, oh man.
Oh, that's true. I never thought about that. But
yeah. I got rickrolled a couple days ago. And there was an ad, and I saw what the video was, and it was just not the same thing.
Yeah, so everybody, wash your hands, be careful what links you're clicking on, stay away from the rickrolls, stay inside, stay safe. And in the meantime, Star Wars The Clone Wars has returned, and we are covering every episode of that, Alex and I, as we're leading up to the series finale. And there's, it's exciting that that's going on while we're all kind of stuck inside. And this week we will be discussing Gone with a Trace and the return of Ahsoka Tano. And so in the meantime, you can follow this show and that show on Twitter at Who Watches Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and we're also on Facebook. And episodes of this show can be found on the main Who Watches feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and any podcatcher of your choice. We're also on YouTube, where every episode of this show gets posted. And please subscribe, leave us reviews. Those are really greatly appreciated. All the 5-star reviews all the time. So in the meantime, stay inside. If the weather's nice enough, go out, go on a walk, stay 6 feet away from each other, stay safe, and set course for Season 1, Episode 10, Et in Arcadia Ego Part 2. Warp 9, engage. And we're gonna all cosplay as our favorite Star Trek character.
I don't know that I've ever really put thought to who my favorite Star Trek character is.
Mine would have to be Elnor.
Because he's so much in this series.
Or Narek, because he's pretty hot for a Romulan. And obviously, yeah. I am also hot.
Obviously.
Who's
your favorite, Travis?
Oh, I don't know. It depends. It used to always be, originally, because I was introduced to the series through the original series, it was Spock.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really like both Picard and Data. Mm-hmm. And so of Next Gen, I think my rankings are Picard, Data, and then Worf. And then the older I get, the more I like Bones, the more I like McCoy and his cantankerousness. So I really love, I love both incarnations of him and both the original series, the movies, and like the JJ movies.
Bones. Yeah, that's true.
Because I really love Carl Urban, so.
Yeah, he did a really good job with that character.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give him a lot to do in the movies, but he carries it all right. But
I just remember the first time watching the first movie, and when they're in that shuttle, and as soon as it comes out of his mouth, I'm like, oh my gosh, he sounds just like him. He just
yeah, he did a great job.
I may throw up on you.
I think these things are pretty safe.
Don't pander to me, kid. One tiny crack in the hull and our blood boils in 13 seconds. Solar flare might crop up, cook us in our seats. And wait till you're sitting pretty with a case of Andorian shingles. See if you're still so relaxed when your eyeballs are bleeding. Space is disease and danger wrapped in darkness and silence.
Well, I hate to break this to you, but Starfleet operates in space.
Yeah, well, I've got nowhere else to go. The ex-wife took the whole damn planet in the divorce. All I got left is my bones.
Jim Kirk.
McCoy. Leonard McCoy.
Thank you.